Pokemon's Chaos Rising is already at the peak of its popularity, Riftbound's Riot obliterates their constructed format by banning 7 cards out of it, and Aetherdrift is below wholesale price. All of that and more today's in Market Watch. First off, Pokemon and Chaos Rising. Anticipatory premium in the US market at TCG showing $275 a piece if you want to buy a box. However, when you take a look at the European market, there is a bit more of a price lag. If you want to acquire a box, actually in German you might buy it below €200, but more reasonably in English, comparing to the US market, it would command you about €220, €230, which is just 8 times lower than what it would command you in the US. Greninja being in the pantheon of most popular Pokemon has affected other products as well. Greninja from Twilight Masquerade, the promo, commands a very high price of about 200 or 250 even euro here in the EU. However, in the US, it's even higher at above $300. If you have been a savvy and observant investor, you may have picked up on those tips and actually have acquired those special edition Greninjas and have made possibly quite a buck on that. Shrouded Fable also seems to have continuous organic demand which outstrips the actual allocation and dwindling supply of the product. If you take a look at card market, while the average price of the last month-ish would suggest you could buy it at €50 a piece, it's actually not really the case because it's very hard or nigh impossible to find any listing that would go below 70 or 75 euro, which is, 150% of the price that seems to be suggested. And so the prices definitely do go up. The EU market is flooded with Aetherdrift boxes, and currently you can buy them for cheaper than the wholesale price. Curious phenomenon, which seems like a great opportunity, although not without its risks. While the price is very low, the issue is that the cards inside might not stand the test of time. You've got the Verge cycle, which is pretty nice, playable in EDH and Eternal format, also in Standard. We've got Moment to Endurance, also very playable in Standard. But other than that, not so much. You don't really want to rely on Standard, a rotating format, for cards, price longevity, right? And there is nothing really chasey about the set when it comes to the limited environment. It was kind of complicated and people really disliked the race thing. And just MTG characters, racing hats. Didn't really. It was universes within, but it still felt kind of beyond it. Lacked this kind of fantasy element to it that would click with people. So between the relatively negative sentiment or a lack thereof, and nothing chasey inside, and oversaturation of the market with it, here we have the low prices. Now, you could enter the product and there are possible outcomes. One, you wait long enough and the product is no longer reprinted, and after proper wait, then the prices actually go up a little bit and then you can maybe make a profit. However, on the flip side, maybe they actually never recover because players never really see value in what's inside, and then you're left with basically dead inventory. So it's not a simple decision, but it's a very curious situation to look into. Riot's Riftbound and first wave of bans ever in such a young game. We've barely seen set 1, 2, 3 take its course, and we're already seeing bans, which might be a sign of Riot's mismanagement when it comes to card design, but also prove the actual management in practice when the push comes to shove. Player sentiment is different. Some people think they went overboard. Some people think, maybe they could have expanded the range differently because a different deck will be the best right now. But it does fix one of the key issues that they themselves admitted, which is the fact that the turns and tournaments, as a result of that, went over time so much. So it was in a very, majorly caused by logistics. Now, it wasn't purely logistics, and actually we nuked 7 cards. But monetarily speaking, players' wallets didn't get hurt that much because those cards were relatively cheap. So the players' confidence when it comes to the monetary value of their collection didn't hurt that much. That was a smart decision. However, players' confidence when it comes to the decks they buy into and play and master has definitely hurt, at least short term. Especially if someone's first TCG is Riftbound, well, that might come as a shock. You come in, you build a deck, you learn it, and, for a lot of people who have, families and full-time jobs, the bigger investment is the time you put in to learn a deck and master it, not the monetary value put into a deck. And sometimes this gets just completely thwarted and destroyed when it comes to bans like that. People from other TCGs, for them, another day in the office, sometimes ban are necessitated. However, players maybe coming from League of Legends might be surprised because, in a paper TCG, you cannot patch anything. You could errata something, but errataing is a pretty big precedence which you want to avoid because you don't want players to open a pack and then be told that the card they've just opened does something different than what it said on the card itself. Although it's relatively similar when they're told it's literally illegal to play the cards they've opened in a pack. So kind of a loss-loss situation anyhow, so you want to avoid bans at any cost. Now, we do not know whether the bans came from something completely unexpected from Riot's side, or it was the game design that may have failed this time, and we can only speculate what that shows for the game long-term. This seems to have opened up the metagame, at least for this discovery period, so we might see a bit of a demand pop up for the product, because other decks might not now be, in fashion, at least for the time being. However, we will see also the aftermath of how it works out with the player confidence, because again, on the one hand, is the fact that your decks might be completely obliterated the next day, but also the fact that Riot actually pays attention and moderates what's happening. So, kind of a double-edged sword. And we will keep you definitely up to date with kind of what the player sentiment in the actual price and the aftermath is in the weeks to come. And tell us what you think. Are you stocked up on Aetherdrift? Are you surprised by the below wholesale price? When it comes to Riftbound, would you buy the same 7 cards? A bit more? Or maybe less aggressively so? And Greninja? What do you think of Chaos Rising 4 and the prices that follow? Tell us below. Please remember to like and subscribe to be up to date with our market watch.